A few days ago, I did a video on what pig mains want. That video came from a bit of rum and honest curiosity. I wanted to know what pig mains actually really wanted with their character. They felt like they were kind of the ignored child, but they were the ignored child that also makes the most noise, so I just had to figure out what the deal was with that. Though, the more I thought about it, I was thinking about other killers that I might want to ask the exact same question to. I was thinking about some of the more neglected killers, people like Bubba, for instance, and it was Freddy for quite some time, but of course that has recently changed. But then I was thinking, what is the killer that I hear easily the least about? Which killer is the one that I never hear talked about almost ever? And that killer, in my opinion, is absolutely the Trapper. The Trapper is literally the face of Dead by Daylight, yet is heard about, or just discussed in general, almost none. Back before the Nurse was released, way back when I played the game during its beta and early stages, I played the Trapper almost primarily because I thought he was just really enjoyable to play. He has a great deal of strategy to him, placing traps in the right areas is really fun, and also that little snap sound effect when someone hits one will really never ever get old. Once the Nurse came out, I went and swapped to the Nurse for obvious reasons, and from then I just kind of swapped around killers, and now my favorites are Doctor and Spirits. But besides that, I do have a little bit of appreciation for the Trapper because what he can do is really powerful. The ability to not only injure a survivor, but to injure them, immobilize them, give you a notification that they're immobilized, and show you their aura is absolutely insanely strong. It is the best on paper power in the entire game. Just all those things together makes for a substantially strong ability. But of course, I almost never see anyone playing Trapper unless they're perhaps a new player. And those that do play Trapper, I don't really find to be that, well, good at him. However, it seems the Trapper has the biggest feast or famine potential of any killer in the game. If the traps are either disarmed consistently or you can't get him down in the right areas, he basically just ends up being a mouse one killer, and he is no better than any of the other worst killers in the game. Put those traps in the right areas though, and you can have a game spiral into your favor at an extremely fast rate. I never necessarily feel like a Trapper slowly wins the game. It generally seems to be you beat the Trapper, and then you all step in traps, or you all immediately get destroyed at once, and then he immediately wins the game afterwards. I feel like it's just a giant coin flip, and when that flip lands on heads, he just straight up wins. It's not like a long drawn out fight. It's just get bodied, and then he does the bodying. Though at the same time, I would say that the Trapper could use a few buffs on his end. Even though he is pretty powerful when he does what he does well, it feels like there's just too many negative aspects going for him. First, the fact that his traps are just completely spread around the map is already a real annoying detriment because you only get the one or the couple if you have a bag. And in order to place those around, you're generally placing them in areas where survivors aren't even at, which can be fine if you're trying to preemptively stop certain loops, Shack Loop for instance. But having all the traps scattered around the map makes you forced to run around the area to grab these traps in order to set up. Because if you don't, well, you're just normal mouse one killer with no power anymore. And that time, like setting up, is extremely valuable. That early game is incredibly valuable because survivors are off doing gens immediately with no fear of retaliation from you because you're on the other side of the map. And this is the reason why people run perks like Corrupt Intervention, Hex Ruin, and stuff. It's not because they want the overall generator regression, it's because they want that early game generator regression. They really hate going and finally finding a survivor just to have one gen pop and another gen pop once that survivor is downed. And the Trapper just makes that 5 times worse. This is easier with someone like the Hag, who has unlimited traps always stored in her inventory, because then she just puts them every so often, and those traps are, of course, a lot easier to use during loops. But with a Trapper having his particular bear traps not only at a smaller count number, like only around 6 to 8, I think, on the map in total, but not having them immediately in his kit, it doesn't bode very well for him. So a few days ago, I made a video that was specifically talking about one change I would make to every single killer in DBD. And for the Trapper, my decision was to periodically have some traps teleport back into his bag so that he can use them again if they have not been armed in quite some time. 30 seconds, 1 minute, give something along those lines. However, someone in the comments section made a pretty simple and honestly much easier fix, which was just give him all the traps in the beginning. That's it. Just Give them all to him immediately. If you have 6 to 8 traps, have 6 to 8 traps in his inventory immediately. Therefore, you have everything you need. You can start setting up pretty early, start taking out loops, and the longer you set up, the better you'll be. But of course, the longer you spend doing that, the more generator progress they'll have. So it creates a little bit of risk versus reward. And honestly, I really don't see an issue with that. I kind of like that quite a bit. I still might even enjoy that little teleportation thing after a bit as well, but at the same time, the Trapper being so damn powerful with that ability being so insanely good, I think just having him start with the traps would be really useful. It's kind of like the Demogorgon, right? The Demogorgon's portals are pretty insanely strong, but he only has so many, he can only place so many. So being able to just go ahead and immediately place them around willy-nilly and have them coming back to him may not be the best idea, but just having them all in his inventory to start off with, yeah, it's no reason why not to. But then you have to think of a couple other things too, because of course there might be some issues where if you have all those traps immediately and you place them, like you should obviously still be able to pick them up and stuff, but are traps going to be able to be sabotaged now? Is it just the usual disarm thing? Is it literally the exact same thing as before, where you can disarm the trap but not necessarily sabo it, and going ahead and placing the traps down means you can pick them up later, but they don't come back to your inventory and you can still only hold like one trap? So does that mean once you place them all, can you only hold the singular trap again and you can't pick up more than that? Or can you just basically have a 6-level trapper bag on? And if so, what would the trapper bag add-ons become? Would they just maybe spawn you with an extra trap? Or I'm not quite sure. I'm curious to see what trapper mains in particular think. If you are a big trapper fan, I'm curious what particularly do you think would be the best course of action in order to give the guy some buffs? And primarily, any additions to his add-ons, or more primarily just kind of the changing of his add-ons, because that would obviously swap some stuff around. Is there anything that you want to fix or adjust that could be pretty useful? I've been playing Trapper a little bit. I got a lot of DCs in these games. Don't really know why. It might be the new patch. But I was having actually a pretty good time when things actually worked out properly. So I'm kind of curious to see, you know, if there's still a decent Trapper fan base out there and what you think should happen with the killer. So, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.